friends, welcome back to another Topic Tuesday with your favorite strength and conditioning coach, Coach Erica, otherwise known as Leonalifts. Welcome back to Topic Tuesday. I know I've been gone for a little bit. Sorry about that. We'll be back on regular schedule now. This Topic Tuesday, we're going to be going over on how to get stronger and bigger and probably why it's not happening for you. So if you're new to the channel, please drop a subscribe. I appreciate it very much. But we're going to get into how to get stronger and bigger and probably why it's not happening for you. So we're gonna go into a couple different topics. I'm gonna go over the very first part of it is that you need to keep it simple. What do I mean by that? Keeping it simple means that I know nowadays we have all this internet, and we have all these influencers, and we have all these personal trainers, and we have all these people doing all these other things, and it's just so much information, and it's like, oh wow, I haven't seen that before. Oh, you know, maybe I need to do that. Oh, I need to do this movement with this band, with this product, in this position, and this product. See how I said product? People are trying to constantly sell you things, thinking that you need them in order to achieve said bodies. The problem with achieving said bodies is that a lot of these bodies are bought. So no matter what you do, unless you go buy from that surgeon, it's not gonna happen for you. And you gotta be really just paying attention to that too. And people wanna say too, oh, well, it's PEDs, it's surgery, all these things, which is true. But when we're looking down into the tunnel, we need to focus on your main people. If your inspo is someone that has had done body work, you need to just go get body work, because there are some things that you are able to achieve or get close to, but to get that image and you're dead stuck on that image, you need to just go get it. Keeping it simple. So you see all these different products are being used. You don't need all of that. The very basics. If we go back into Greek mythology, look at those people. They didn't have booty bands. They didn't have special wide grip flexes. They didn't have, Smith machines. They didn't have cables. They didn't have all these exercise things. We have to look at that in the sense of people, like especially Greek statues, the mythologies, all the statues, and they're all, that didn't just come up from nowhere. Like those were inspired people, which is actually the human anatomy. So when we get into it, look at the professionals, look at the all-time, people. Look at Ronnie Coleman, look at Nick Walker, all of these people that are so, Chris Bumstead, look at all these people that are just so at the top. Look at what they do. Do you think they're doing all these extra little, oh, you have to do this angle and this little position and do that? No, they're sticking to the basics. We're not doing crazy different exercises. We're not looking to find new exercises to improve what they're doing. The basics work for a reason. And you don't have to overcomplicate things, because there's so much to do with fitness. There's exercise, there's a type of exercising, there's, program planning, there's nutrition, there's recovery, there's, all these different things that essentially you have to learn. And it's just so much. Keep it simple, keep it to the basics. Don't do all these extra crazy exercises. Don't do everything you see on TikTok or Instagram, because a lot of times those workouts are just shit and they're capping, and they really don't need to do that in order to achieve that body. I talked about it earlier this week, but if you're looking at someone doing some crazy movement and you're looking at it and you're like, I don't know what's going on, there's a lot going on, and they don't look like an Olympian, they don't look like a supermodel, maybe question that. Because if you gotta do all that to achieve that type of body part they're moving, maybe you don't need to do it. Think about it that way. But of course, when we get into women fitness, unfortunately, we do have these bird brains that, I don't want to say are Olympians, but a lot of extra shenanigans are going on, and we do know it's all marketing. We don't know it's, oh, I'm gonna grow a booty in 6 weeks. I taught you better. Don't do that. Now, another factor is going to be, and it's a very big buzzword for all you boys. I know you guys love to overuse it and misuse it, but it's progressive overload. So progressive overload progressive overload training is literally the definition because I had someone try to argue with me about it, and we're not doing that. So progressive overload is when you gradually increase the weight, frequency, or number of repetitions in your strength training routine. Okay? So when we get into that, progressive overloading means that you are changing something in your training program in order to get stronger. Now this is focused on strength training. So strength training is a little bit different than everything else. Strength training has the pure intention and only thing of just getting stronger. Now, when you get stronger, you do lower body fat, you do get more vascular, all that jazz. Eventually you lose body fat, but the whole point of strength training is just to increase your strength. Progressive overloading is key to this because to get stronger, you need to do more. And progressive overloading essentially allows you to do more. So a lot of people typically just think progressive overloading is increasing the weights. It's not. It's weight in the amount, frequency, and the matter of reps, or the way you move the movement. So there's a couple ways to actually get stronger within progressive overloading that don't necessarily mean that you have to constantly just keep adding a little bit more weight, a little bit more weight. So the first one we're going to talk about is going to be pause reps. So I'm sure you've heard of this. A lot of times people like to talk about it when they're doing squats. It's kind of the easiest idea. When you're doing a pause rep, essentially you're pausing and holding for a certain amount of time when you are actually at that peak movement. So look, when we do a squat, when you go and sit down, when you have in that parallel, you would pause, let's say 1 second, and then go up and get it. So you would go down, pause, and then come back up. We're talking about a barbell squat. So pause movements allow you to actually kind of go on the idea of time under tension, and that is how you're going to build muscle. That's how you can build strength. The more time under the tension is going to increase that. So if you do something that's paused at the peak of it, so let's say with a bicep curl, I have a cable, I'm pulling back, I'm going to pause, hold this, and then release. So pause, and then release. So it's essentially, people kind of have an idea with tempo. Tempo is different. Now tempo is a little bit different because there's different types of tempo depending on what you're doing. Some people like to have longer tempos, pause, but essentially tempo, if let's say we're doing a cable bicep curl, I'm gonna do a 3, 1, 3, okay? So that means that 3 seconds in, 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna do a 1 second hold and then a 3 second release. 1, 2, 3. And that's the tempo. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3. And you go with a tempo. Sometimes it's longer tempo, sometimes it's shorter. You can always, let's say, you can do a 1 second tempo in. Now this gets also into explosiveness, athleticism. So strength conditioning coaches use tempo a lot. You don't have to necessarily use them, but they are useful if you are going to use it properly. Now kind of falling under that too would be positives and negatives. So positives, you would be doing in, and negatives would be going out if we're talking about this one motion. So that kind of goes into a tempo too. So if you're focusing on the negatives, essentially this would be the positive, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, that would be the negative. So this all falls underneath tempos, which do help with progressive overloading. So that's going into tempo. Another thing with progressive overloading, you do want to increase resistance. So resistance is going to be the actual weights. It is going to be like, let's say you're doing 25 pounds. For a chest press with dumbbells, you want to go up to 27.5. Go up a little bit more, and then eventually gradually increase. You don't want to just jump, let's say you're doing 25 and then go up to 50. That's too much. You could fail, you could hurt yourself. You want to add a little bit more as you get stronger, and you'll get into that way as well. Another thing which I love to get strong without necessarily getting the weight. Now, there is a couple of reasons why you might not want to increase the weight. One, you don't feel comfortable with increasing the weight. Depending on the movement, if you don't have someone that can spot you, that is a good spotter, and that you can trust to actually take care of you and make sure that the spot is performed properly, then you might not want to increase the weight. 2, you work out by yourself. You don't want to injure yourself and take a risk if no one's around to help you. 3, you might not have physically available that weight to go up. So let's say you're working out at home, weights are expensive. If you only have a 25 and you've now graduated from that 25 being your working rep set, what do? I got you. So static holds are going to be a very good friend. Static holds, let's say we're doing a chest press, okay? So when I do the chest press, I'm gonna push up and then come down. That's a normal press. What I might wanna do is when I go up, I'm gonna hold it. Also, increasing the amount of reps that you do is also considered progressive overloading. So if you don't have the weights, you don't have the confidence, you're not really sure, you don't physically have them, that's fine. Focus on all these things for progressive overloading other than adding weight. You can increase your reps. So if you're doing, let's say 8 reps, go up to 12. If you're doing 12, go up to 15. And me personally, I feel like once you get over 15, I get very bored. I don't want to do it. Totally understand. So let's say you only have physically 25s at your house. You've already done 15 reps. By 3, 4, you're done. You don't know what else to do. So that's when you want to focus on tempo, pause reps, static holds. And if you're focusing on tempo, those 5 tempo reps might be actually more fatiguing than those 15 normal reps. So focus on that. There's plenty of ways to get stronger without constantly having to only add weight. That is not the only solution to progressive overloading, but it's very key and important to do those things in order to get stronger. But that is not the only thing that's going to allow you to get stronger and also allow you to get bigger. Keeping it simple. Now, another thing you want to focus on is when I say keep it simple, not only does it go to the exercises, but you want to make sure that your training program is also coherent with what your goals are. And when I say what your goals are, typically a lot of people is like, I want to lose weight, I want to get stronger, I look better. Okay, that's great. But we need to kind of figure out what we are actually focused on primarily in order to build a proper training program. So for example, strength training is primarily focused on only increasing strength, overall strength. Typically other things come with it. Just because you're exercising, you're getting stronger, your body will adapt as you go. Now, you also have resistance training. Resistance is kind of a combination of strength training, but also including resistance. So that includes like body weight exercises, resistant bands. It's a little bit different. So think kind of like almost like CrossFit, essentially. Now this is everyone's other favorite buzzword. It's hypertrophy. And yes, it's hypertrophy, that's the proper way to pronounce it. But hypertrophy training is different than strength training because hypertrophy training is what you're going to see a lot of bodybuilders essentially doing. They're trying to increase the actual physical size of their muscles. So if you're trying to really kind of get confused between the two, think strength training is the strength. You're only trying to get stronger. Hypertrophy is trying to increase the size of the muscle. And the training styles are very, essentially ideas similar, but they are at the same time very different. Now, the reason why people get them confused a lot is because with hypertrophy training, you do get stronger. Of course, if you're working on a muscle, eventually you're gonna get stronger. So you do get stronger with hypertrophy training, but you're not gonna wield the same results if you were on a strength training program. Now with hypertrophy, you will have the increased size mass versus strength is just going to be focusing on the strength. Now, of course, too, the muscles will eventually get bigger, but it's not the optimal ideals of what we're doing. So when you are training, you wanna figure out, okay, do I wanna get stronger or do I want to focus? So like if you're just number chasing, like, hey, like I want to have this number bench, I want to have this type of like overall strength. So some people, they don't really care for 6-pack abs, and that's perfectly fine. There's plenty of people that don't care for abs. They just want to be strong, and that's perfectly fine. That's what they want to do. Some people are very more into aesthetics. They want to have the size, they want to have the image. If you're into bodybuilding, that's all up your lane. So there's a difference, and you need to figure out what you want to do and what your goals are, and also the functionality of what you're doing. This idea is through the NASM, but it's really, I personally like to bring it up just because it's a really good idea, especially for people that are new into kind of like exercising and weightlifting especially, to figure out what they're doing in order to get stronger. The OTP model is the optimized performance training, essentially model, shown here. But basically the first level is going to be stabilization. The second level is strength, and the very third level is power. You need a steady base of stabilization in order to build those other things. If you are not stable, there's no way you can increase your weight. There's no way you can increase the explosiveness. There's no way you can increase your athleticism. So best example, let's go ahead once again into that chest press. I'm pushing up, squeezing and holding. Now, when I'm doing that, what is being worked? My wrists, elbows, shoulders. If my wrists are all loosey-goosey and they're shaking and they're going, do you think I'm gonna be able to put up more weight? Do you think I'm gonna be able to focus on explosive power? Do you think I'm gonna be focused on heavier weight if my are like noodles? No. So stabilization is very, very important, especially when it comes down to leg movements. A lot of people have weak ankles, which is perfectly fine. But in order to increase overall strength, they need to increase the stabilization of their ankles. Their core is a huge one as well. Stabilization of the core is what, when you do squats, when you do deadlifts, is very important to what you're doing. So stabilization basically is the bottom of that staircase. Once you get stabilization down, then you can start going on to strength, and then you go into power. Power is what we consider explosiveness. Power is at the very top because that what comes after everything. It's just like a cake. You need the flour to rise, to have stabilization before you go ahead and put the frosting on, before you go ahead put, the cream between the middle. You need the flour to make that cake. So stabilization, think about, is that flour. Everything else will come with it when you're making it. Another thing, in order to get stronger and bigger, you need to focus on your recovery and your nutrition. So recovery means not only that you have downtime, it also means that you're getting enough sleep. You're having rest days, that you're not overtraining and you're not pushing yourself too hard. I know everyone wants to see results fast as possible, but that's just not possible with physical human anatomy. You can't change things overnight. Recovery does play a big part into it, because if you are not properly recovering, you're going to be sore all the time. You put yourself at higher risk of injury. And then once you injure yourself, then you're really going to take a long time, and it pushes goals further and further back. Nutrition is also a very big part. If I am burning, let's say 700 calories every single day on top of my resting metabolic rate, and I'm only eating 1,000 calories, I don't have enough to physically grow. So if you're trying to grow, you need to fuel the machine. Your body is a machine. Your body wants to grow and get bigger. How can it do that if it has no building blocks? You cannot build a house with nothing. You have just air. It's not going to grow anywhere. You need to put bricks in there, and those bricks slowly load and build and will get bigger and bigger and bigger. So if you're trying to grow and you're trying to get stronger, you need to fuel yourself with the proper nutrition, proper amount of food, and consistently too. Recovery, nutrition, all has to be consistent. You can't do this properly for 2 days out of the 7 days of the week and then expect the other 5 days, or even really to hit those measurements. You're gonna plateau. If anything, you'll go further back because you're not hitting those things. You put yourself higher risk of injury. You're gonna get frustrated, the stress, cortisol levels, everything's gonna go through the roof. So recovery and nutrition, those three things are very also key to growing to be bigger and stronger. And if you're not doing that, that could be why you're not seeing the optimal results. I do suggest taking a look back in the mirror, seeing what you're doing, and fixing that. So this is the one thing that people typically don't want to hear, but being stronger and bigger, it takes time. It takes time, and you need to be realistic with your goals. I cannot go be an IVF Pro Olympian body lookalike in a year. It's not gonna happen. And that's me being generous. A year, it's not gonna happen. I can get closer, but that IVF Pro bodybuilding model, that doesn't happen in a year. So looking at your goals, if you're trying to lose 60 pounds, a year is doable. You're gonna work your butt off. 3 months? No. You need to be realistic. You're not going to grow that shelf booty that you want in 6 weeks. It's not gonna happen. You're not gonna get six-pack abs in 6 weeks. You're not even gonna do it in 8 weeks. You might not do it in 12 weeks. You'll get better, but you're not gonna do that in a very short amount of time. You need to be realistic with your goals and what you're capable of. For example, if you know that you're going into your busy season at work, you're stressed, you have to do more hours, you have to do more overtime, or like the summer's out, you have your kids, You know that you are not going to be 100% on your diet. You're not going to be 100% with your workouts all the time, and you can't have that full dedication, which is perfectly okay because we are humans. We have lives outside of this. You can't expect optimal results like if someone else who doesn't have the same responsibilities, doesn't have the same time constraints or anything like that, that's going to be doing balls to the wall 110% every single day. And you just have to be realistic. I know, like, hey, it's my busy upcoming season. I'm not gonna have as much time. My goals are gonna, change to what I'm wanting to do. If you want to just change overnight, that's not gonna happen. I'm sorry. It's not what we want to hear, but you need to be realistic with your goals. So if you're I'm trying to put on 30 pounds of muscle in, 6 months, you might not get there. But if you put on 10, that's phenomenal. That's awesome. Celebrate the things that you do have control over and the work you've done so far. Don't constantly focus on these huge, elaborate goals that you have not physically possible to achieve in that matter of time. So be realistic. If you're trying to set yourself and go, oh, well, I haven't reached this is probably why you're not reaching your goals, is because you're not putting yourself in the correct mindset of what's actually humanly possible. This goes into something else that probably don't want to hear on why you're not getting bigger, why you're not getting stronger. You're probably doing everything and anything, but nothing at all at the exact same time. So what I'm talking about, you're doing cardio, you're doing keto, you're doing, your weightlifting, you're going to do spin class, you're going to do this, you're eating the low-fat thing, you're going out drinking, you're going out the time, you're doing everything and anything. But at the same time, this is doing absolutely nothing for you. It's doing generally something, like it's keeping you active, it's allowing you to do all those things, but it's not doing the thing that you want to do. So let's bring it back to the original part of this video. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Figure out what your goals are and figure out your training plan. Are you hypertrophy? You're going to get physically bigger. Strength training, you're going to get stronger. What's your goals? Figure that out and then take a look at, am I actually doing a strength program? If I actually doing hypertrophy, am I progressively overloading through my training program as well? Do I have, limitations with weights in my home? Do I have limitations with, confidence or having a physical spotter? And adjusting to those plans and getting you somewhere else. Taking a look also at your nutrition. Are you sleeping enough? Do you have a lot of stress in your life? Are you eating enough? Are you eating quality food? Are you hitting your protein macros? Are you hitting enough calories overall? Take a look at that and just also look at the time. Are you being realistic? That's what you need to pay attention to. So when I say you're doing everything and anything, but nothing at all. Figure it out, keep it simple, and stick to it. It takes time, it takes consistency of the same thing over and over and over and over again. If you do the basic things and you're not seeing results within a week, it's a week. I don't know what to tell you. You need to do it for a longer period of time. Come back to me in 3 months. I know it's not the time we want to hear, but come back to me in 3 months. And if you did every single thing perfect, then yeah, you can have that conversation, but you're going to see progress. You're going to see a difference. So just keep it simple, do progressive overloading, find out your program you're going to do, get enough sleep, get enough food, and be realistic with your time, and you will get stronger and you will get bigger. Wraps up this Topic Tuesday. Once again, thank you so much. I appreciate the love and growth. We are going everywhere. There's tons of things coming out for you guys. I do have blog posts coming out every single week. There's also a newsletter, so make sure you sign up for that. If you're looking for training, it is my birthday coming up. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm doing 29% off, as in because I'm turning 29, percentage for across the board. So that is for ebooks, that is for customized training, that's also for VIP training. I have a special deal going on with that. So take a look at that at the website. Everything else, I appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe. And until next time,